Yeah, Cha. Shall we discuss what's wrong with Sea of Thieves? And where Rare made a really strange and, in my opinion, a horrible game design decision, and how they tried to fix it without really addressing the main problem, which has led to not really fixes. So this comes back to the fact that Sea of Thieves is has two really great like game genres in there, which are both by themselves really well made. You have this adventure type game, which is what, for example, I mostly play here. And then you have something more of a battle royale PvP system baked into it. And the issue comes really when you have the people who wants to do adventure and really just sail around, do quests and stuff like that, meeting people who wants to fight and loot. And when they clash, it goes wrong, and it goes wrong for one really big reason, and that is the progression system in this game. The progression system in this game is set up so that you don't get anything before you hand in your loot, which means that a lot of times you might do 2 hours of questing just for yourself to be sunk and lose everything in the last minute. And this comes very much back to that all players or all game systems should also be developed with progression or like rewards in mind, because we as gamers, we like to be rewarded for what we do and for what we do and things we accomplish. And how this system is battle royale, I'll come back into, or I can actually take it now, because the way the PvP and this reward system reminds me of is very much how you would find it in games like Tarkov is what springs to mind. Like you go in with the risk of losing it all, and having no rewards, or maybe next to no rewards. I'm not sure, but the whole point is that you can do the quests in Sea of Thieves, and you can actively play for hours and still end up with not getting any rewards for what you've done in the game. And for many people, this is a perfectly acceptable playstyle. This is perfect system for them. It's like you want to fight, you want that risk and reward. But when you also have this very story-driven, fantasy-like adventure game that the questing really is in Sea of Thieves, those two clash. And those two clash in a way that you have really two types of players in Sea of Thieves. You have the person who rather would want really Sea of Thieves to be single player or co-op, and then you have the ones that wants everyone to fight and to have smaller maps and more close combat situations. And these two groups complain about each other. And I've seen this in streams and with people I've talked to. Like, either players complain about other players running away and it being hard to catch and kill other players, and that they really are frustrated with people who don't want to fight, while there's another group who gets really annoyed every time they're interrupted in their quests or in their adventures by someone who attacks them and maybe steals our treasure. And I don't think I've ever seen any other game than Sea of Thieves that decides that, okay, if you, because you can understand how, like, the idea behind a pirate game having pirating in it, right? That you can steal from each other, and that's a component in the game. But the issue comes in, especially for new players, when you struggle, maybe especially in the beginning, you struggle with understanding how to do the quests. It takes you a long time to get minimum of treasure, and then you can lose it all before you get to hand it in, because you have to go to a specific place and deliver it to specific people. And this creates a lot of frustration, especially when you're new and you don't know how to fight, you don't know how to do the quests, you don't know how to sail, and this is, in my opinion, Sea of Thieves' biggest issue, and what should be really their biggest concern when it comes to when it comes to further development, because this is something that can really ruin the game. Because I mean, adventure players are really sad, are really not really sad, but really annoyed with this PvP system. And the PvP players are really annoyed because there is also still a lack of PvP to get it fully into like a battle royale game, and into this sort of risk reward fighting system. And they've tried to address this problem in a couple of ways, which in my opinion hasn't really addressed the issue, which is the losing, like that they lose reward. So what they've done, for example, one of the earlier updates, and it should be mentioned that there are 2 progressions in Sea of Thieves. There are no skill or weapon boosts or anything you can get, so there's no progression in equipment. One type of progression that you can like try to argue is cosmetics that you have, that you can buy, but that's purely visual, right? It has no gameplay mechanics. And then you have the reputation for the different, let's see, sometimes this loads slow. Then you have reputation for the different guilds. And the point with these leveling up here is, one, you get better quests. You get chance of getting new cosmetics, and reaching level 50 in 3 lets you become a pirate legend, which is, at least in the beginning, it was the main goal of the game, was reaching level 50 in all 3, because then there was also only 3 guilds you can be a part of. Meaning that if you would lose all your treasure or everything you gathered in a session, you would have no progress in any of the guild, because you would get no reputation, and you would not get any closer to any of your cosmetic dreams. So one of the early things they did to try to solve this is that they introduced the Reaper's Mark. And the Reaper's Mark is basically a flag you can put on. And like it also says here, yeah, I'm not blocking. Beware, the Reaper's Mark whispers across the waves, glows, blah, blah, blah. So it's very visible. And also, you are marked now on the map, so everyone can see you. And the idea behind this was that, okay, we have this issue with players who wants to fight but can't really find anyone to fight, and you have players that don't want to fight who always gets in a fight. This would sort of eliminate that by, okay, players who wants to fight can mark themselves and other players will hunt them down. that didn't really happen because one, there is a limited amount of ships you have in a server. So often you would end up with one ship flying the Reaper's Mark, going around harassing. A side thing was that yeah, you could also see if a very aggressive player would come in and try to attack you. But that would also mean that you will always need one on the map looking around. And again, if you're a new player, if you're maybe a group of 2 or 3 who are new players, even especially if you're one, questing takes a lot of time, and you yeah, you don't want to have one person just sitting watching a map while the other one spends an hour on an island trying to find treasure. So that didn't really address it at all. They tried a lot with different quests, event quests, where you would get extra rewards from using this the Reaper's Mark, which which in theory would make anyone who's a bit interested in this. Also, you would start gathering the questers and PvPers who looked for a fight into one thing and would leave everyone else alone. Again, this did not happen, and also you had people or players who wanted to do the limited time quests, being harassed, especially now, by people wanting to just fight or steal treasure. And then they introduced the arena, which is the closest thing that could have become to solving this issue in a way. But the problem here, and the problem with all the other solutions that Rare has come up with, is that it doesn't address the core issue with this, and that is losing of reward and loss of all progression. I think the best solution that would have been for this, because this the whole, I mean, the ideal system would be, of course, you have PvP and PvE. You would just have PvE servers, or you would have PvE and PvP zones, but that doesn't really work. First of all, you would split up player base, and that doesn't really, that is, especially the PvE and PvP zones, is a clunky system. That would also ruin a bit for the adventure feel of the game. So what I would suggest, and which I think is the best solution for this, is that you would get reputation for doing the quests. Simply doing the objectives on the list. If that is catching an animal, digging up a chest, killing a skeleton, and then you will get the monetary reward, or you will get 90% of the reputation doing the objectives, and then you will get 100% of the gold and 10% of the reputation for handing it in. This is the I think this would be the best solution for this problem, because it will still keep around the core mechanics. So it's clear from Rare's side that this is something they really want. The whole risk reward pirating, that you can be attacked and lose all of your stuff. They want that. It's very clear that they do not intend to remove that. So with that in mind, I think this is the best solution, because this addresses the issue of losing rewards and progression, and the frustration that comes with that. If your first encounter with Sea of Thieves is you spend 2 hours on one island trying to figure out how the map works, digging up a couple of chests, getting on the boat, sailing to sell them like straight away, and then you lose it all, and you've spent 2 hours basically doing nothing, people don't really want to come back, and that is the frustration I've gotten from so many I've talked to that do not want to really play Sea of Thieves again. Is that they the loss, the frustration in losing progress and losing everything, basically spending 2 hours for nothing, is something they could rather do with something else. You would rather go to a game where you spend 2 hours and you get progression and that satisfaction of getting a reward, unless you're really hardcore into Sea of Thieves. So that's my thoughts on the subject and on the breakdown of Sea of Thieves' biggest problem in my opinion and in my eyes. And hope you guys like this. A bit different, a bit more pre-planned content.